Hello everybody, my name is Keith Prinster and I'm going to be taking you on a virtual nature tour to learn about some of the common plants in Ohio. Now the first couple of plants that I want to get are just off the road here, so I'm going to grab them real quick. Alright, so first one we have is this lime green fern plant through here where the trees meet the grass. Now this is called a sensitive fern. Not because if you call it names you'll hurt its feelings, but because if you grab it and you kind of touch it and mess it up a bunch, it'll kind of shrivel and shrink back into itself as a defense to keep it from getting trampled by animals. Now this next one is a plant that many of you are probably familiar with. This is your common clover. You can tell because it has these three round leaves. I know it's supposed to have four, but we don't live in the magic world, so not all clovers are going to have four leaves, okay? And that is our first two plants, so why don't we move on down the road to find some more. The next couple of plants I'd like to show you are right here. So this first one we have is called wild rush. Now this is a kind of grassy plant that grows all throughout the Ohio woodlands, and it's got these long slender leaves, very smooth edges, and they all the veins run vertically towards the point. Wild rush grows down short in areas like this very frequently. The one next to it, however, this is called autumn olive, and it's very invasive. You can always identify autumn olive, or Russian olive as it's sometimes known, by the silvery backs on its leaves. They have an otherwise very slender and long shape with green on one side and silver on the other. Alright, let's be moving on. And here we have another plant. This one is called plantain. Now plantain likes to grow in these areas that are a lot sunnier, more open and grassy without any trees around. And if you look, it's got these big round leaves, and it turns purple and then white as it goes more towards the base where it was plucked from the plant. All the leaves run parallel to each other from the base of the leaf to the tip, and as you tear it open you can see these long fibers which run all the way from the base of the plant to the tips of the leaves. And now let's continue to our next plant. Whoa, hey, we're not gonna go this way because this way has got all this poison ivy everywhere. Now poison ivy is very infamous because it causes rashes, and rashes are certifiably no fun. So we need to learn how to identify poison ivy so we can stay away from it. Now the most common answer I get when I ask what identifies poison ivy is that it has three leaves. And while that's correct, that is not the only thing that identifies poison ivy, because there are a lot of plants that have three leaves. So we need to learn to be a little more specific when we're talking about poison ivy. So if you look at this poison ivy plant here with the leaves, it's got three of them, and the middle one is coming out on a stalk. And that stalk is usually some kind of reddish green color, and the leaves also have these serrations on the outsides. Now, their serrations on the leaves change based on if it's a middle leaf or one of the edge leaves. So the middle leaf is going to have a serration on both sides, while the edge leaves are going to have a serration on the sides that are facing out. So it's going to have serrations facing outwards on the outside leaves and on each side in the middle leaf. Now, poison ivy doesn't just have leaves though, it's also a vine that can crawl up trees and along the ground. But how do you tell this vine from any other vine? Well, as you can see, this poison ivy vine, never leaves the tree. It's very clingy, and it never detaches itself from the tree, and it stays clinging onto the tree with these fine hair-like growths. So always remember when you're looking at vines, if it's hairy, it's scary. Don't touch it. Now we're going to go this way where there's not poison ivy. Now that we've avoided the poison ivy, we are able to stand here at the final stop of our wonderful virtual nature tour. So we have here three of some of my favorite plants in all the wilderness. We've got our friend the Christmas tree fern, the redbud tree, which is just a baby, that's why it's not very big right now, and the spicebush. Now, the Christmas tree fern has a nice deep green color, which helps set it apart from the fern we met earlier, the sensitive fern. And if you look, all of the leaves are clearly defined from each other on this one. There's no joining together and looking like one big leaf. Each one of these leaves is its own defined leaf. And right next to the stem that runs up the middle towards the tip, there's a little bump on each leaf. And both sides of the leaves have this. And they point towards the tip of the Christmas tree ferns, towards the tip where it gets narrower. Christmas tree fern. Now we have the redbud. Now if you look at the redbud's leaves, it's got a nice heart shape, and because we all know that hearts pump blood through your body, which is very healthy for you, by the way, and blood should be red unless you're doing something wrong. Now, as long as your heart is pumping red blood, you can remember that that tree is redbud. Fun. Now this last plant we have to cover and talk about is the spicebush. Now if you look at the spicebush's leaves, it's got these long football-shaped kind of leaves. They've got very smooth edges, and they've got a very nice defined shape. And sometimes they're accompanied with little brown spots all over the leaves. Now those are all well and good, but the most defining characteristic of your spicebush is the smell. If you crack open a leaf and you take a nice little whiff, it has a very pungent aroma, and that's where it gets its name, because it smells like some kind of spice that you would use to season your food. This has been a wonderful experience. I'm so glad you guys could join me for this virtual nature tour, and I would say I'll see you for the next one, but hopefully there's not another pandemic so we don't need to do this again. Goodbye!